So what I got going on the inside here, now I've got the seats removed, front seat, rear seat, obviously. So what I got going on is I had to cut into the floors for the drive shaft, and I have since started to mess with making a new drive shaft tunnel, or hoop, if you will. So what I got going on is I've cut the floors. Now, underneath here, this is actually, the front seat will come back to maybe here or so. So none of this stuff that I'm doing here is going to be affected by the floors at all. From there, it does have to come up just a little bit, not much. Back here is where it comes up the most, up to that part there. Now, the nice part is that from here basically back is all underneath the rear seat. So really, I'm only looking at a section from here to about here that may show up. What I did is I used my Bailey magnetic brake. I just bent it at about 30 degrees, and I did 6 bends, so I got me about 180 degrees, which gives me a nice, decent little drive shaft tunnel there. So I've got to trim it all to fit, try to weld it in. Back here looks a little, not so great work yet. I need to go through. Here's that 4-link bar that came up actually into the floor just a little bit. You can see all this wiring and stuff that was underneath the seat and the carpet. I'm going to plan on redoing all that, and then all the air ride back there. Once again, planning on rerunning stuff, rerouting, cleaning that all up. So, but this is where we're at. So far, I think pretty happy with it. Just need to find the time to get this thing done. So one of the other things I had to modify was the drive shaft tunnel. I'm running a one-piece drive shaft, and so I needed to raise the tunnel for the drive shaft to come up, which this will all end up getting covered up with carpet and everything later. But I raised that up, went up into here. Okay, so that's right underneath the front seat. Comes up underneath here, okay, and goes underneath the seat. I then had to modify the seat. So if you notice here, let's look at that carpet guy out of the way. I ended up having to cut the front of the seat here, go up and over my new shaft, drive shaft hoop, and modify the seat frame. Never done that before, don't know exactly what I was doing, but I guess that makes me qualified to do it. I move the seat out of the way, you'll see. Went back underneath here, drive shaft tunnel goes up and tucks up underneath the seat, nice and neat. You'll notice there, those are my brackets I put in the car over a couple years ago. That's able to clip car seats in. Other than that, this here, both sides, oops, sorry, my lanyard got snagged. You'll notice on both sides I have these boxes. That's where the suspension, the 4-link, came up. Just about an inch into the car, so I made those are 1.5 inch tall boxes that go up, and then this is actually for, it got snagged again, sorry, the 4-link, the upper bar that goes up. So was able to got those all boxed in, covered up, and all of that tucks in nice and neat underneath the seat. So I put the seat back in, tuck that guy back in there, and there we go. So ends up right about there. There we go. We end up with the seat fully in the car, and once I have the seat cover for it that I took off the original, and it'll get covered up. You'll never see it. Put the carpet back over top, so it'll look like a completely factory car from inside, and all that drive shaft, all the suspension stuff is hidden underneath the rear seat. So that's cool too. Alright, you got these wheels back from the sandblaster. Turned out well. Just need to cleaned up and put them in the powder coat oven next door that I built years ago. I'm also going with some Diamondback tires. I went with Diamondbacks over the Cokers because Diamondback offered a little bit bigger white wall. So get those done and get them mounted up and show you that here in a minute. So right out of the powder coating oven, pretty happy with these. Powder coated them myself here. Built an oven a few years ago. Do a bunch of my signs and that kind of thing. So this is a color called King Sport Gray. It's a Columbia Coatings color. Very similar to what was on the car before. I was going to go something a little bit lighter, and then decided nope, I wanted to go back pretty dark. From a distance it's almost black, but when you get up on it and then hit it at a different light, it gets kind of gray. Bunch of flake in it, so real happy with those. Can't wait to get the rest of them on, get the wide whites on them. Managed to get all these done. I ended up with 5 total, so I just went ahead and powder coated all 5 of them after having them sandblasted. That way I could pick and choose which ones I wanted to use, and I ended up with a spare. I only bought 4 white walls, but we'll end up putting a regular tire in one as a spare backup, I guess. So, good to go. Get some tires mounted on them soon, and one step closer. So with my steering, I put this kind of cheaper column in it. I shouldn't say cheaper, but you know, it was a Jegs, I think it was Jegs Summit kind of specialty in-house one. Mainly because it's got tilt and then column shift here. So what I did is, my personal pet peeve is I don't like when a car has a newer steering column or steering wheel that doesn't match the car. So I'm gonna try to run the factory steering wheel. So what I did is, it came with this chrome spacer deal here that bolts on. And so what I did is I notched it, and then I made this piece here. All right, so kind of butchered it up a little bit, but you won't see it. So what I did is I notched that chrome ring, and then I used 1/4-inch plate, and I had the plasma table cut out some holes that I countersunk some screws into it. I don't have all of them in yet. And then I cut the end of the steering column off of the factory Packard column, and I welded it to here. So what we got going on is we've got 9 set screws that hold this bracket that I made onto the chrome piece, and then we're able to pop the factory steering wheel, that's spline, so we can always make it perfectly centered, right on top. Boom. So we're done. So, and then the factory nut and washer and all of the steering wheel assembly will bolt directly onto the wheel. It'll tighten down basically because I still have that center stud from the original steering column. So that matches perfectly up with my adapter, and I made it the size of the steering wheel, so once it's tight, it blends in nice. Powder coated the same color as the wheels. I may end up taking this guy off and powder coating it too the same color, because it's little, I don't know, it's a little shiny for my liking, but there's that. And then if we come out here, see my messy shop, here's what we got coming on. So I made a new floor plate that holds the steering column there and comes up and bolts in. And then we've got some Heims, come over, some universals. And then we've got a Heim that with a support bracket I need to finish welding, and then down to the column, or down to the rack. What I did find was I was having issues with some binding down here, and what it was the tip of the steering rack that had like a little extra, I don't know what you call it, a little tab, nipple, something hanging off of it, and it was binding on my U-joint. So I trimmed that down, and now we're good to go. We have full steering, turns, lock to lock, no interference. I did try a couple different sets of headers and found out some good old LS3 factory manifolds were the perfect fit. I get by all the steering, no complications, and good to go. I tried block huggers, and I tried a couple of the other, another set of like cheaper C10 type of headers, and all of them interfered to a point where I could have made them work, but I didn't really like the way they fit. So some LS3 manifold, you know, they're not the prettiest, but these are factory brand new that somebody took off of a crate motor. So picked them up cheap, and we're good. They're steering.